into the Man United agenda. This is Rebel with a new mic, so let's see how this goes. But I want to welcome, obviously, Mr. B and Yaba Forbes. But before we get into meeting everyone in the chat, I'm going to get through some housekeeping because we are on the road to 4K. And if we get there before the first game of this season, one of you lucky subscribers will be getting the Man United jersey of your choice. You get to put your name and number on the back, and it would be posted direct to you. And you might ask, but does this cost me money, Rebel? No, it doesn't. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to the Man United Agenda YouTube page, hit that lovely subscribe button. Maybe even if you're feeling generous, give us a cheeky like on our videos, because all of this helps us so much, and it's absolutely 100% free to do. Now, Rebel, you're probably saying, what if I'm feeling a bit flush? For the princely sum of £1, that's 3 Freddles, you could have the chance to get a Bobby Robson signed, authenticated jersey. All you have to do is to join one of the Man United Agenda tiers, and it's £1, £1, £12 a year. And when this will be given away is when we hit that agreed number that we have for the number of members. I think we're around about 15 at the moment. So if you get us there, Colin will come on. He'll do an Irish jig. He'll sing a song, and he will tell you how this is going to be drawn. But Yaba, Mr. B, let me just get this off the screen. How are you feeling on this terrible Tuesday?
Terrible? It's not terrible. My work day was terrible, but I'm talking to you, fine gentlemen. So yeah, it's no longer terrible. It's now wonderful.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, look, it's Tuesday. You call it terrible. I don't know how to flip that. Really, I'm thinking of a word to flip it with. But what's a good word beginning with T? Guys in the chat, how can we counteract this terrible Tuesday? Twilight Tuesday, no, Twinkling Tuesday. It's good. It's all good. We got some good news today. Some productive news in the transfer market, and some really positive stuff. Remember, tremendous. Yeah, there you go. Tremendous Tuesday. All right. Rebel, come back.
Just have a look in the private chat.
Oh dear. We won't talk about that. But yeah, there's some really. I've been really inspired today because we've had a lot of talk, and I asked a question a few weeks ago about Mbeumo, or however you pronounce his name. And I didn't know much about him, Mbeumo. I didn't know much about him, but I've seen some interviews over the last couple of days which suggest something really positive for me, all about his character. And I think we've been signing players who have that right mentality and want to be professional as well. And he seems like he ticks those boxes. So super excited about that. Super excited about the news that we've been moaning about the midfield recently. There could be some development there. So stay tuned, guys. There's a lot to talk about today, and love to hear what the guys in the chat have to say as well.
There you go, folks. So plenty to hear from Yaba. I have a reputation to maintain. I have to stay in my negative bat cave. So it is what it is. Well, before we get into the topics of today, we've heard that Chelsea Football Club, who have been signing everybody that they can get their paws on, they value Janet Jackson, aka Nicholas Jackson, at £80 million. Wow. That's more than Watkins. That's more than Sesko. And according to Miguel Delaney, the maximum that they're willing to shelve for Alejandro Garnacho is £30 million. Now, Mr. B and Yaba, as much as he's a problematic child off the field, surely 30 million doesn't pay for his jockstrap.
You know what? It's a Chelsea move, innit? You know what Chelsea do? They sell high but try and buy low. So if that's the price that they're offering, it's not a problem. They can have whatever price they want. United have got a figure. I would like to think that they're not going to deal with Chelsea. But if Chelsea are going to be the team that are going to give them the money for Garnacho, then do it. But 30 million, there's no way on God's green earth Garnacho leaves the club for 30 million. Never, ever. There's no way. No way.
That would be a bargain, surely. I mean, if you're a Chelsea fan, and you're getting a young player like Garnacho who's got a good future ahead of him, if he gets his attitude right, 30 million would be a steal, and they would be skinning if they got a deal like that. But no, we cannot afford to do that. I'd rather hold on to him than release him for 30 mil. I'm just asking, guys, what are you thinking? More 50 mil? Would you value someone like that at a young age who's produced it in the Premier League, scores overheads or whatever, international as well, and got a high ceiling? We always said him and Kobe got the highest ceilings at the club. I saw something on Twitter today asking Man United fans, would you sell Kobe for 150 million? And a lot of people were sort of umming and ahhing about it. So to let our other young youth prospect, one of the biggest prospects at the club, Garnacho, go for 30 million, that's just ridiculous. That'd be a no from me. But Chelsea, to be fair, I mean, look, they got Jackson in from Villarreal, didn't spend too much on him. He's had a couple seasons Premiership football. His stock maybe has gone up, and he's
You
still
think
at
so?
age. Yeah, I think his stock's gone up.
All he does is miss and get sent off.
Because his stock's gone up because he's playing in the Premier League. He's won a European trophy. He's an international. He's getting more experience now, and he's got something about him. So whether you think he's good enough, personally, if you don't think he's good enough, better than what they've other young under 25 strikers out there, that's up to you. But he's still got something about him. So I think Chelsea, offering 80 million for him, it ain't bad. But do they need him? They've got João Pedro and they've got Delap. You understand what I'm saying? So they probably don't need him. He's probably third in line right now. And if they can get 80 million for him, fair play to them.
Who's going to pay 80 million for Jackson?
I don't think many, outside of the Premiership, I don't think many clubs would.
I don't think there's anyone in the Premiership that would pay 80 million for him, but to be honest with you, because
anyway.
So maybe do you think they're saying 80 million to say, let's do business, let's haggle now? Or do you think they're saying 80 million is to say, hands off?
Yeah, but if you price him at 80 million, that sounds like a hands-off price, but it's obvious it's obvious that they want to sell him. I mean, you said that they got the guy that they got from Brighton, man. Pedro. Pedro, and obviously they've got the thug in what's his name? Delap. I like the way Chelsea do their things, innit? They got two forwards in, and now they want to get rid of Jackson, and they're making it perfectly obvious that they want to sell him. The fact that he's been touted around. I would just wish that we would do that. Get the other striker in, get the other midfielder in, get the other goalie in, and let it be obvious that you've got no part to play. Your second team or third team at most. Make them uncomfortable and get them out.
But don't you think we act differently? We're a different club to Chelsea. If players come to Man United, you want to feel part of it. You want to feel, as soon as you walk in, you're part of something special. But if you go to someone like Jackson's gone to Chelsea, and in a couple of years, he's tried to make himself the number one striker, and he's getting turfed out. Raheem Sterling went to Chelsea. He's getting turfed out. Jadon Sancho has gone to Chelsea. It's like a turnover club. There's no spirit there. There's no sort of belonging. Do you understand what I'm saying? They've been doing this for years.
If you're good enough, you'll establish yourself. Clearly, the likes of McQuailey, the likes of Bencho are not good enough. Jackson has been seen as not good enough. They brought in Jamie Gittins from Borussia Dortmund. They brought in Estevo from Brazil. They're looking at bringing in that other lad from RB Leipzig, Simeons. They are looking at improving their squad and trying to take on Chelsea. And
I don't understand how they've got all of these players, though. I'm sorry, Rebel. Sorry to cut you, Rebel. Chelsea. I mean, I heard they're looking for 9 forwards. They want to have nine forward players. So that's 3 players for each position of their forward line for the start of the season. 9.
Well, I don't know how that's going to work out because there's only a certain amount. There is quota, isn't there, about how many players you can have and register, and they're just stockpiling. It seems, and they've been doing it for, like I say, doing it for a long time. I know you said there about if you're good enough, you'll stay, but really, I mean, all the new guys coming in. What's the attraction when you know the club doesn't have that spirit like Man United, the belonging? Yeah, Mr. B, you're right. You're right. Look at. Let me just name a couple of other players that have gone on to do well. They had Tomori. They've had the striker, the English striker that went to Roma.
Abraham.
Tammy Abraham. They've had who's the American wonder kid that they brought over? Who?
Pulisic.
He's
but they've where have they left them gone to?
Bring him for a couple of years, showcase them, and then get rid of them.
Where have they gone to though? Where have those players gone to? Italy.
Where they play in first team football, wherever they've gone to, they get their showcase themselves. So I don't like that. You don't, as a fan, you want to get to know players and have players play there for a long time, and have that familiarity with them. After a couple of years, they'll be gone. This guy Gittins is coming in from Dortmund. If he doesn't fit the bill and doesn't get game time, what's going to happen to him? So it's not the attraction for me. For a player, you want to go somewhere where you can bed yourself in and become yourself a club legend. But maybe football's changing and clubs like Chelsea are doing that. That's why I don't support clubs like Chelsea. I love Man United for the fact that we are looking to recruit players from the youth team, bring them through and try to keep them there for the long haul, make them part of the club, and the fans will love them. Obviously, with Garnacho, didn't work out with Greenwood either. Hasn't worked out with Rashford, but he had the opportunity for it to work out. But we've seen in the past how it's done with the Class of 92, Busby's Babes, and the fact that we've always had a youth team academy product in our squad, match day squad since going back to the 1930s. So that's the identity of our club. I don't want to be involved. I don't want us to turn into a club like Chelsea.
So you'd rather not win and continue being this happy family club while Chelsea are, winning world club cups and finishing in Champions League position. Sometimes you have to be. Don't get me wrong. I'm agreeing with you. I would rather have it. It feels like we love blah blah blah, but sometimes I think you have to be ruthless. And that's the part of it.
But in response to that, Mr. B, I think it's when you win, it's got to be extra special. You win. When we won in '99, it was special because you see so many academy products in the game. That's what makes it extra special. So I'd rather wait 5 years and win something and make it feel special than than become a PSG or a Man City where you lose that kind of. It becomes a business and you lose that association with the fans.
Yeah, but let me bring this home to Manchester United.
5 years.
Because
that's how long it takes. They said 2028. Sorry, Rebel.
Let me bring this home to Manchester United Football Club because you've kind of touched on something that segues in nicely. Manchester United football fans have pretty much deemed Andre Onana not to be good enough to wear the Manchester United jersey. That very jersey that Mr. B has proudly worn tonight. Obviously, the goalkeeper version. We don't feel that he's good enough to provide the stability behind the defensive unit. Now, to go with your logic, to maintain a happy family, to maintain a cohesive unit, we should swallow the fact that he's not good enough, swallow the fact that his inability to adhere to the tactics and the levels that we expect of a Premier League goalkeeper are foregone in respect of cohesiveness. Now, because of the fact that Manchester United have failed to remove Andre Onana from Manchester United Football Club, we are no longer, per The Athletic, pursuing Emi Martinez because there's a lack of willingness to put out a transfer fee plus a wage scheme to attract Emi Martinez to our football club in order to upscale the goalkeeping position. So, from a footballing perspective, and I'm going to give it to Mr. B first, does this make logical sense?
No, get rid of him. Look, Rebel. We spoke in it. We know where our weakness is. are in the team from last season. I don't think we should be giving anybody any more chances. I don't think we should be giving anybody any more leeway. When my guy come in, he said 2 years. They've got 2 years to prove themselves. Anana's been at the club 2 years. I'm going to ask you both: has he proved himself? Okay, there you go.
No.
There you go. You know, sometimes you make decisions in life that are wrong. Suck it up and move on. I know we were talking about the Belgian goalie. What's his name?
Lemings or whatever. How it's pronounced.
Right. How would you see that coming? Would you see him coming in as a number 2 and hopefully pushing Onana in a year's time? In which case, then I don't want him. In which case, I don't want him. I would rather they went out there and got a Donnarumma, which we won't get. I understand we won't get Donnarumma, but get a first choice goalie. I mean, they're talking. I heard something today about Newcastle getting rid of Pope to get Ramsdale in. Now, Pope is a better goalie than Onana. All right, he's not great, but Pope isn't going to cost, loads and loads and loads. So I think there's goalies out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't want Pope. I would rather get somebody of a start. I have no idea if Lemins is any good, but that's the one that they're talking about. As Andrew said, yeah, Pope is still good. And he's better. He's better than what we've got now. If they're gonna get Ramsdale in, Pope's not staying. Could a deal be done with that? Then he comes in as he comes in as first. In my opinion, he comes in as first choice.
Here's the thing with Pope, and I'm going to throw this back to Yaba. We have wiped Newcastle's brow on Cunha. We have wiped Newcastle's brow on Mbumo. In what universe are Newcastle going to do us any favors on the goalkeeper?
Yeah, maybe not. Just going back, because we were comparing Chelsea, the way they run their business, the way they go about it, and it says, yeah, they are world champions. They have won a European trophy, and they're back in the Champions League, and they're looking like good. Their project is looking good. From a couple of seasons ago, they were sort of in relegation form, doing really poorly. New managers come in, young, good manager, and he's transformed them. But he's had the funds, he's had the ability to bring players in as they have. But do you remember this is how they do their business? Remember they spent a lot of money on Kepa, their goalkeeper. Kepa, is it?
Who's this? Chelsea.
Spanish goalkeeper. Chelsea. They bought a goalkeeper from Kepa.
70 million for Kepa, sold him for
70 odd million they spent on him. And then they didn't fancy him, similar to we don't fancy Onana. But we're not getting rid of Onana like that. They just kicked him to the curb. And now he's sort of turning up at, I think he's been sold for like 5 million or something somewhere. This is a guy who's valued that high. Chelsea said wasn't good enough. We don't want him. They didn't care. They just got rid of him. We're not doing it the same way. We don't. A lot of fans don't like Onana. They think he hasn't performed and everything. But I think we're a bit more respectful the way we deal with the players.
Right. Yeah, but I'm going to interject briefly.
So let me just make my point. So that was about how Chelsea do it, and they've been successful. I think maybe the reason why we haven't gotten rid of Onana yet, because I think we're a bit more respectful how we deal with the players. But the fact remains that we need to sort of change that area because it's a weakness for us. He's caused so many sort of mistakes and issues. So we do need competitions. And like Mr. B was saying, that Lemons guy, it's good that we're looking around and can we wait? Let me make my point first. Then we can do the Arnold thing. Yeah. So that Lemons guy shows that we're actually looking for someone to come in and take his place, But we spent 50 million on Onana, and there are goalkeepers in the Premier League that probably would be better suited for us. So you mentioned Pope, you mentioned Ramsdale, you mentioned Martinez at Aston Villa. There are some available goalkeepers that we could actually go in for. But let's see what happens, how we go about our business. Because if you're part of the board of Man United, you're looking how Chelsea have been successful in such a short space of time, how Arsenal have turned it around. You've got to take some tips from that. And not to steal the whole idea, but take some tips on how they're doing their business and how they can replace their goalkeepers or do their business in that respect. I'm not saying shut him off like Kepa did, but we need to do something in this window now if we really want to make that decision about the goalkeeper. And bringing in a guy for 13, 15 million from Belgium League who we feel it could be better, that's a good start.
Here's the reality of the situation, Yaba. Chelsea Football Club, their directors, their owners are putting money into their football club. They're not taking it out of their football club. The Glazers have been strip mining Manchester United Football Club for the last 13 years. Jim Ratcliffe, by necessity, to keep us out of financial fair play or proper sustainability rule breaches, had to put in 300 million to keep our arses out of the fire. The reason why Manchester United Football Club is not able to do what Chelsea did and kick Onana's arse to the curb is because they do not have the same fiscal infrastructure as Chelsea Football Club. If the Glazers were willing to put whatever the maximum is that they're allowed to put in per season in, if Jim Ratcliffe put the maximum in, we could say, cheerio, bye-bye, Onana, and have him gone tomorrow. The reality of the situation is the only reason he's not gone is because we do not have Todd Bowley and the people that he is fronting. That's the pure and simple facts. The reason why...
Sorry, go ahead.
The reason why we've been a disaster in the transfer market is because we have players that should have been on 150 grand, on 250 grand. We paid obscene transfer fees for the likes of an Anthony that should have been coming in at 35 million, but came in at 75 million. And we are now paying the piper. And that is why we're stuck with some of the players that we're stuck with.
I understand that, but I just think to go forward, we have to take. We might not be able to move like Chelsea, but we have to consider how we go about it. So, like I said, getting that guy Lemons in, or Lemons, whatever his name is, that's a start. At least it's showing that your position's not safe, son. We've got the Turk in last year. You're not performing. We're going to have to get another goalkeeper in, basically to say you're not performing, and that's the reason why we're having goalie issues and midfield issues as well. We need to strengthen in certain areas, and goalkeeper, midfield, and striker is the key positions right now. So it's good to see you are making moves. Let's see how this turns out, because I know nothing about this Belgian goalkeeper, but I just hope the scouts are onto something here by getting a good deal, someone cheap who can probably go on, hopefully, to be a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, I suppose moving on from the goalkeeper, let's deal with our midfield story next. So, apologies if I'm butchering this pronunciation. Hjulmand of Sporting Lisbon. Apparently, according to the BBC, Manchester United made an approach for the midfielder today. It was something in the region of 30 to 40 million euros. They want 50 million euros, and our approach is rebuffed. Now, the only part of this I'm taking, because I haven't seen Ornstein, I haven't seen The Athletic, I haven't seen the likes of Romano kind of corroborating what the BBC have said today. If there's any smidgen of truth in the fact that we're actually pursuing a midfielder, where's the money coming from? Because we've been listening to everybody tell us, you have to sell, you have to sell, you have to sell, you have to sell. But all of a sudden, we're talking about Lamines at, say, 20 million pounds. We're talking about him at the equivalent of 40 million pounds. That's 60 million pounds. And let's just say Sesko's the one that we settle on. That's another 60 million pounds. So all of a sudden, there's 120 million pounds of transfers that are coming in the next, 2 to 3 weeks. So if out of 25% of that, all of a sudden there's 40 million that they told us we don't have coming out of the ether. Is this desperation from the ownership kind of going?
They lied. Everybody said we didn't have any money. Rebel, you got to understand. Everybody said we didn't have any money. Nobody knew anything about the offshore account that they had, the second bank account when it came into. We can't act like we've got money because people will take the piss. So what you do, you act like you're broke. Yeah, we're lining up deals. Maybe we don't have the money to get them done, but we're lining them up now so that when Anthony gets sold, because he's going to get sold, there's no way Anthony's not getting loaned. When Garnacho gets sold, You know, these deals are lined up so that they're ready to go. You know, so I forgot about bloody Sancho. You know, God knows if Sancho's going to get sold off. I just think he's just there for the money. So unless they pay him off, I don't think he's going anywhere anyway. So they probably won't make any money on the Sancho deal. But they know what the weaknesses are. We knew what the weaknesses are. We're not stupid, and they're a lot more football savvy than we are. If we can see that we got a bend foot up front and popping on wrists at the back, they must know that. You know, they've got to give their manager a chance of doing something in the season. We've got Arsenal first game. Nobody expects us to win that game apart from a couple people, you know, including me, you know. But we've got 2 weeks, or is it 3 weeks after the season starts, where they're still capable of buying, you know. And if you look at all of the other mid-level teams, we call them mid-level because that's where we are, you know, nobody spent any money. Liverpool have spent money. Arsenal have spent money. Chelsea always spend money. Sunderland have spent money. We've spent money. Fulham ain't spent no money. Villa haven't spent any money. You know, so as much as we're moaning, we've got 2 key players in them pre-season. You know, so when the season does start, I'm expecting us to have that kick on. Because if you think about how players come into our squad and they don't do shit for 3 months because they haven't had a pre-season and they don't know the system the manager wants to play. Maybe it's just our club. Maybe that's just how it is. But I think we're gonna have the march on a few of those teams. It might not be Arsenal. It might not be the top 4, but we've got to be looking at between 5 and 8. You know, I'm not. Some days I'm confident that we're going to get the 8, and some days I'm not. But I don't see us pushing for any sort of 4 Champions League position. I just don't see it. 1 game a week, I get it. I understand it. You know, and you've seen little bits and pieces in the first game. Well, the first game was the Leeds game. You saw, if you sit down and study this game, which I have, you can see stuff. You know, so if they go again and you see it again, when the season starts, it doesn't matter what the Arsenal result is, because that's not the game because it's this game afterwards, and the game after that, and the game after. Do we expect to beat Liverpool? Do we want to beat Liverpool? Yes. Do we expect to beat Liverpool? Probably not. But there's hope, you know, and all of those teams that were giving us licks last year, the Bournemouths and the Evertons and the West Hams, I want revenge for these teams. I want to shut their fans up. I don't want them preaching anything to us. I don't want them jumping in our chat, fucking mocking us. You know what I mean? We can jump in their chat and mock them. That's what I want it to be. So they need to get it. They need to get it done. They've got money, Rebel. I just think that they're keeping it there just in case something does happen. And we will sell players. And if you think about it, if we're going to spend 100 million on players, what do we need? 35? Really?
In around, yeah. But I'm glad you touched on Sunderland, because let's bear in mind, Manchester United Football Club had the worst Premier League season in their history last season. And we're looking at Sunderland, and as far as I know, the last transfer that they made, they have currently outspent Manchester United Football Club, a club that finished 16th, far behind Liverpool, far behind Chelsea, far behind Newcastle, far behind Manchester City, and a large volume of other clubs. Yet, when we're watching them improve their squads, Manchester United Football Club, while making decent deals for Cunha and Mbeumo, have not made the same ground. We haven't even caught up to what they were last year, let alone what they had before their transfers. And the question I ask you is, given the fact that obviously we do have 1 game a season, and given the fact that it's looking unlikely that we get that goalkeeper according to some of our comments, do you really expect Manchester United Football Club to make up 30, 40 points on what they achieved last season? We barely breached 40 points last season.
Yeah.
Get any bit of European football, we probably need to be 70 next season.
Yeah, I do. But first of all, before we answer that question, big up to Chris Johnson Adventures, the Adventures of Chris Johnson. How you doing, bro? Lovely to see you on the channel. He's saying he's been a 32 years Man United fan, and just subscribed as well. Thank you and welcome. I've seen you get a nice welcome from the guys in the comments. And also, big shout out to Tottenham Till We Die. Enough respect to you. He's a member as well, and he's just dashed out £2. Dashed £2 into our account. Cha-ching! We get new mics, we get new equipment, and it's down, not down to you. But
By the way,
you so much.
Yabba, just to mention, THSC Till I Die is Dermot, and he's actually going to be on with Mr. B this Friday night on the takeaway to give his views on Morgan Gibbs White and other Tottenham business.
Good. I got that. It's about how I could dig a Tottenham man about Gibbs White. These people that I was speaking to, for some unknown reason, were full of talk and big chests, for 2 days, and once all of a sudden nobody wants to come on. Yes, we got the 20. Can we get another 5? Can we get another 5? Sorry.
Just going back, look, you asked the question. I mean, I'm trying to stay on track here, but you said about the money, the dough that we've got to afford going for this guy, the Danish guy from Sporting Lisbon. They apparently put a bid in 30-something mil. They want 43. Juve also sniffing around as well, even though they got Douglas Costa, thing. But he's known to us because he played under the manager. He arrived there, I think, in 2023. And won the league. And he came from Lecce as well, where Dorgu came from, another Danish player. So he's, from what I've seen of him at Sporting, he sort of ticks the boxes of a big, strong midfielder who can secure everything together, is not selfish, plays unselfishly, knows the roles, stays in his role, and just does his job. And typical Scandinavian kind of mentality as well. Comes in, does his job, and big and physical as well. So I always like the look of him for Sporting. I felt he gelled them together. And I think in the team and the system that our manager plays, we do need a guy like that who's going to be disciplined and sitting there and be that rock in the middle of the park. And he does that really well. So it's interesting that we could be going in for him. Whether we can afford him or not, I just, like Mr. B said, once we've got players leaving the club or getting off the wage bill, whether it's on loan or whether it's with a fee, and we mentioned Collier backstage, didn't we? That if he does come in, this guy, maybe we would sell Collier. I don't know how people feel about that. We discussed that last night, whether, he's
would you sell him
or not.
or loan him?
We can get probably 15, 20 million for him. Who knows? That will add to the fees. So in response to you, Rebel, I think you just got to shuffle the finances, and I think they're finding a way. I didn't know about this offshore bank. That's another thing. This is how people do their business. And like Mr. B said as well, sometimes you have to be hush. You don't tell people what you got, otherwise you're going to get robbed. If I start broadcast showing you around my house and showing you all the valuables I got here, I might get robbed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So keep your cards close to your chest, and I think that's the best way to do business. And just remember, we are under Ineos. We have to do things differently, and it's a long process. They said 2028 before we can start seeing real success. But I like how we're moving right now with the 2 good signings, and you wanted to respond to you again, Rebel. I think with the 2 signings we've made with Cunha and Umbomo, I think they're going to score goals. I think they're going to be electric. And like I said at the start of the show, I like their mentality. They're here to do something special. So let's see. If you're talking about becoming in the league 5th or 8th, between that sort of region, quite possibly. I think we do better than last season for sure. And I think with the preseason and the development we're seeing with the games and more to come, we can make a better assessment. And come the Arsenal game, I think we're going to be ready to go. So let's see how things develop, players going out and bringing players in, and then we can assess it better. At the moment, we're just speculating, but I'm really confident about what we're going to achieve this season, as in getting higher up the league.
Yeah, but whatever goodies you got in front of you, post them over there to Cork if you don't mind, because I don't believe we've made significant ground that we can say absolutely for certain that we're going to close ground on the disaster class that was last season.
So when you bring in a 2 players who scored double figures in goals last season, that's already making significant ground. We weren't scoring goals. You've got Mbeumo, you've got Cunha coming in. They scored 15, 20 goals. Mbeumo scored 20 goals last season. That's
here's the reality, though. Manchester United Football Club last season.
That's a reality.
We barely kept pace with Salah last season in terms of goals scored. We've had negative, I repeat, negative goal difference in 4 of the last 5 seasons. That is absolutely catatonic in terms of output.
That's in the past. We're talking about now. The window's not even shut, and we brought in 2 players who can actually score goals and provide things already.
What about the paper midfield? What about Calamity Jane and goal?
But the window, like I said, the window's not closed yet. The reality is we brought in 2 players who can sort out that negative goal difference issue that we had. They can sort out the issue about scoring goals in the final third. It's really exciting to see that that's a positive move. You know, that's something we have to rejoice to say, yes, that's a step forward. There's nothing, that is the reality of it. And they're in the club. They've signed. They've got the shirts out. You know, they're on display right now. Let's see them in the next couple of games. Let's see it in the next few weeks and months. And then we see.
Respect, but I think you can only celebrate based on results, based on what has actually been delivered in front of you. You can't celebrate and aspire on the basis of the potential for the delivery of goals. I want to see those goals. I want to see those wins. I want to see those points on the board. And until such time as those are delivered and in black and white in front of me on league table, there's no reason to celebrate.
So, Rebel, did you see the game? Did you see the West Ham game?
I saw half an hour of it before I went to bed because of the All-Ireland final.
You know what it is? Maybe we look at things differently, because I'm a coach, innit? I try to be. So I look at things, especially in pre-season, I try to look at things holistically, yeah? There's been such an improvement in what the players were doing, certain triggers, you know, when Bruno pressed, Kobe then pressed behind him. When Kobe pressed, midfield. These are things that have been learned on the training ground. There's just little specifics. These are little things that I'm looking at. When Cunha played left, played right, they made sure that the pressing started from Dorgu. So when Dorgu pressed, Rasmus would press, just more aggressive. Even Kobe was pressing, you could see it. So I'm looking at little things. They've improved a lot in that one game, that 1 hour. You say the hour, 65 minutes, where they had their first team playing. I could see an improvement. That's why I'm happier with what we've done in regards to. I'm not going into it blindly thinking, oh, we bought 2 players, but you can actually see players understanding what is supposed to be going on. That's where my positivity coming into the season starts. I understand we do need players, and I understand your negativity because we've only bought 2 players. And if they get, I don't believe that I don't believe that Mbeumo will hit 20 goals for us. But if he hits 15, you know, and another one hits 15, we only scored 44 last season. Do you know what I mean? Right. So then there has to be a progression. You know, we're more aggressive in the press. These are things that we didn't see last season because they were bloody lazy. Those players have come back. You've seen they've come back. They've come back slimmer. You know, whether or not they're fitter is a whole nother issue, but they've come back slimmer. So these are the parts of it that I'm hoping to see moving forward. So that's where my positivity is coming. Not necessarily from the sign. I do want the signings, but the players that were there, I can actually see
progress.
Improvements. Yeah, progress. So yeah, I can see progress.
I want to throw it at you, Mr. B, because as you know, I've been watching GA all summer since the Manchester United season finished in the Premier League. And we played a team called Donegal on Sunday. Now, Donegal, they looked impressive against everybody that they played up until they faced Mike Kerry. And they had a plan to mark our marquee forward. His name's David Clifford. And what he done is he took their best defender, he dragged him out towards the halfway line, and he sat there. And the only time he used any energy was when there was a set piece move where he looped around one of the other Kerry players and dinged the ball over the bar from 45 yards out. Now, everybody would have thought that Donegal were well prepared, that Donegal were a match on a player-for-player basis, that systematically they were a match for Manchester United or for Kerry. And I'm going to throw the same thing to you. We're looking at a pre-season where you're seeing these key indicators, and that's all well and good in pre-season. But when you face your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Cities, your Liverpools, is there an element of where quality is going to outdo any systematic enhancements you make in a pre-season?
Yeah, look, let's put it like this. I agree with Mr. B about the way we played the other day. It's really, really impressive, the way we're going forward. You talk about quality when we come up against big teams. Have we got the quality? This is what manager paid for. If you've got a game plan, you mentioned the game plan with the Gaelic football the other day, and it didn't work out. So everyone's got a plan if you get punched in the face, as Tyson said. But we saw Chelsea come up against Paris, the European champions, in this World Championship final, whatever, and they had a game plan, and they did, team man for man. They were probably not as good as Paris Saint-Germain, but they had a game plan, and it was effective, and they won. So the manager is so important with this. If you've got a system and a game plan to help you win games, it doesn't matter who you play, you can succeed. This is why you have so-called Porto winning the Champions League. That wasn't expected, but they had a manager with a game plan, lesser players, and performed and got the job done. So otherwise, the football would be boring because all the best teams would win all the time. It doesn't happen that way. Real Madrid would win the league and win the Champions League every single season. And clearly, I mean, as many as they've got, they haven't done that. Or Barcelona haven't won it for so long. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's always a game plan. We've seen Pep come in with his tiki-taka football, Barcelona. Everyone thought, my gosh, how are we ever going to conquer that? It's got to a stage now where you got Klopp coming along, trying to counter that. And over years have gone by now, and there's different systems to adapt to that and change that. And I think we've got a manager who's progressive with his style. And if he gets all the key factors right with the squad, which he has time to do now, we can do something just based on the tactics and the attitude and the conditioning that the players have already, let alone bringing transfers in. And we've got 2 good transfers coming in already. So this is what I'm enthusiastic about, seeing the actual football side of things, seeing the manager do a good job and work with these players. I've seen in the comments, which I was going to mention anyway, which is very true. The players are more accountable. They're getting more accountable now for their fitness. This is what they used to do in Italy. You get weighed every week to make sure you're on point. You need to have someone to work with you off the field to make sure you're working on your diet and your nutrition and all these things. These are things they're monitoring you with to make sure you're coming prepared. And it's all about foundation. If you prepare and you've got the right foundation and the prep right, a bit like Batman. That's why Batman's such a wicked superhero, because he preps first. He might not be the hardest, but he might beat someone like Bane who's stronger than him, or he might be some super-powered hero, villains or whatever, based on his preparation. That's why he's a Don. Football is up here a lot of the time in the mind. So I do think we are taking steps towards that to prepare ourselves properly this time around.
Mr. B, let's talk expansively on Yaba's point there. He brought in Real Madrid. He brought in Paris Saint-Germain to the conversation. But when you look at these clubs, your Real Madrids, your Barcelonas, your Paris Saint-Germains, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, your Cities, all the big clubs, the common theme that they have is that they seem to be structurally sound in every line of their formation. You look at Manchester United Football Club, and even if we get one of Watkins or Sesko, which we'll be talking about shortly, there's a glaring issue at Manchester United Football Club, and that is Bruno Fernandez. And we've signed Mbumo and Matthias Cunha for big, large sums of money. And if that is the sum total of our commitment this transfer window, we are now left with a position where we have to try and figure out where our best player last season, fits now in that club. Because if you're sitting in a situation where one of Cunyon and Boom are on the bench, we're looking at a waste of transfer resources, in my view, in that we haven't sufficiently thought out how we're going to utilise all the assets that are available to our club. Our centre midfield is an area for concern. Sure, we've seen advancements from the likes of Kobe and possibly even from our Uruguayan friend from last season, Ugarte. But if we're trying to fit Bruno onto the field, does that mean then that Manchester United Football Club have made an error of judgment in signing 210s?
No, because he needed 210s. We needed 2 dynamic 10s. These are players. These are the players that he wanted. The fact that he went out and got them first, and we spent the cash, and it's left us fresh. These are the 2 that he wanted. These are the 2 that he expects to make the difference. Bruno playing as an 8, which I feel that he's going to have to play in. The fact that Kobe played there is more what I'm happy with, because he did the things that the manager wanted him to do. You know, Bruno understands the formation. The fact that Mbeumo, he's not starting the first game of preseason. He's not starting the first game of the season. He's probably not going to start the second or third game of the season. As long as we're winning, I'll tell you the truth, as long as we're winning, if Bruno's playing in and Mbeumo's on the bench and coming on doing cameos, it's what we'll have to accept. But the fact that we have that squad depth now, everybody's talking, oh, start. Yeah, I want him to start. But if we're winning and he's not playing, sit down on the bench and wait. And that's how it is. He's not going to be fit enough to start the season. So if Bruno starts as the 10 and Kobe starts as the 8 and Ugarte starts as the 6 and they win the game or the performance is at the level, do you think he's going to drop them? No, Mbeumo will have to wait till the 3rd round of the Coca-Cola Cup to get his start and then earn his spot in the team. He's not going to do what Ten Hag did. As soon as they come in, he's playing them, regardless of whether they understand the system. So I get your negative. I understand your negativity. I get it. But I'm not feeling it at the moment. Maybe once the season starts and we get turned over, the first 3 games, people are dropping that ball in the back, in the gap in midfield, and the 3 defenders are running forward. And fine, I understand that. But at the moment, I see change. So that's where my positivity is coming from, Rebel. I get it. You're not seeing nothing.
Let me put it to you this way. Stephanie asked the question, if Bruno would have a good season to the detriment of the team of Manchester United Football Club. Let's just say Mbeumo and Cunha established themselves as those 210s, that they nailed down those positions, that they're the starters. We now have a situation where a player that we got offered 100 million for is no longer playing in the 10 position that is seen as the position where he needs to be. We now need to square peg him into a round hole. Do we put him at 8? Do we put him as part of 2 6s? Do we shove him on a right wing back? What do you do with Bruno Fernandez where he's beaten out of his favourite
You're
position?
expecting him to fail. You're expecting him to fail, Rebel. And this is the part that I don't understand.
Where's
The
that?
whole-
Hold on.
The whole point of having pre-season is for players to learn and understand. Yes, I get it. Yes, I get it. He struggled but everybody struggled, Rebel. Everybody struggled. Bruno's not an idiot, or he wouldn't be our captain. He wouldn't be playing for Portugal. How much games he's played. Bruno was a good footballer. Yeah, you got to understand. Nobody understood one fuck what they were supposed to be doing last season. Nobody. From the goalie kicking the ball long to Ugarte not being able to pass and turning the wrong way to whoever to -9 running off the pitch and wanting to wrestle. There's so much things that pre-season is going to sort out. If they still stays the same, fine. I get it. But it's like you're not even going to give the opportunity to be. You can't be negative the whole way through pre-season. We were so mad when the season finished. For 2 weeks, nobody wanted to talk in the group. Let's be honest. Nobody wanted to talk in the group. You know, we were getting cussed left, right, and center. We've had the pause. It's time for a reset. If we can't be positive going into this season again, and we're still going to, what's the bloody point? What is the point? I know you actually stopped watching them. As much as it pissed me off, yeah, I used to start watching them and fall asleep, granted, but at least it was on in the background. You know, I used to leave them mad. But that was last season. Are you really, Rebel, going to go into this season feeling as negative as he was last season?
Honestly,
let me just say, Rebel, you made a point there. You said, have we made a mistake buying 2 10s? And with the Bruno dilemma, you talk about Stephanie's point as well. Look, Bruno, it's the manager's job to shuffle the pack and make things work and make the team potent based on that. So you have an issue with Bruno. You say he can't, you know, he's going to not be playing in the position that he's more favourable to us. He played well as a number 10 the other day when he started against West Ham. As we all agree, scored 2 goals, a brace of goals, and he was instrumental in dictating the play. That's what he does. But he can also play well in other positions as well. And Mbeumo can play well in various positions. So can Cunha. So can Ahmad. You know. So can Kobe. So you got a squad of good prime players who can be versatile. In a season, we're only playing domestic football. Someone might get injured. It's not a case of this must be our first 11. This must be our strongest 11. You get 5 subs as well. So the rotation, the shuffle in the pack, this is down to the manager. And if you look to the bench and you're not seeing kids and you're seeing prime ready people ready to go and saying, yeah, I can trust you, you know, that's great. Imagine bringing Mbeumo off the bench or bringing Cunha off the bench or bringing Xerxes off the bench or top players who can do something. So Bruno, I don't think it's an issue about Bruno or it's going to be detriment, as Stephanie said, there's going to be detriment to the team. For, you know, if everything's coming through him or I don't think that's an issue. We're going to see, I'm kind of positive that we will see the good use of these quality players. And it's good to have that sort of competition as well. And I trust the manager like he did last season. Here's a good example. He put Kobe, rested him up, Kobe had a couple of injuries last season, put him as a number 10, put him as a striker at one point. Do you remember that game? And then this season, you'll start to see Kobe with the manager with a bit more time, a bit more coaching, a bit more wisdom, play him in a role which is probably more suited to him, which is number 6. And no one, last season, everyone on the show and most fans were saying Kobe's got to play as a number 10. But he will prove himself again in this position with time, patience, and working with him. We're going to see some development there where he can actually play in that position and build up the play as we saw against West Ham. And hopefully in the future we can see a progression of him there. So it's not, we can't have things too rigid where you can say, oh, Bruno, he can only play as a 10 or whatever. The manager's paid to shuffle the pack, and that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, but I'm going to move us on from this debate because I think we could probably go on to midnight talking about pros and cons. But I want to throw something for the chat to think about and maybe comment on after the show has ended. We have a precedent situation where we bought a man by the name of Donny van der Beek from Ajax for the princely sum of about £40 million a couple of years back. In a situation where his preferred position was the same as Bruno Fernandez's. We're now looking at a like-for-like position where we have multiple players already on the books and multiple players coming in that are battling for that position. And this year, there is no European football to spread the wealth of minutes. So let us know your thoughts in the comments after the show, whether or not you think that maybe Manchester United Football Club should have prioritised either the 9, the 1, or the 6 ahead of getting a second utility 10.
Yeah, but the season, Rebel, you can't buy everything in order. If the goalie comes in, the striker comes in, and the midfielder comes in, what's the problem? You know, then we moan. I understand the 2 players that we were bought aren't the players at the positions that you wanted to buy in, but so you're saying that we should wait we should have waited for the goalie and bought it in that order, then the striker, and then bought in that order. Then by that time, guess what? Cunha and Bruno we can't get. We're then playing fucking Mason Mount and whoever else he decides that he would be jigging in that position. It's not always going to be done in order. The window hasn't. I don't know, man. The season starts and there's just so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to move us on though because we have been labouring on this for some time. I just want to confirm that Aaron Ramsdale is being here we go to the tomb. So that means that Pope is probably
going to Newcastle, right?
They are dead.
He's a good goalkeeper.
goalkeeper Aaron
He's
Ramsdale.
not a good goalie, man. He's not a good goalie, man.
He's decent.
He's not a good goalie.
He's got a lot of character. England international as well when he plays. It's just that he's got a bad reputation because Arsenal got rid of him and he got relegated with Sheffield.
I'm glad. They are in big trouble, man.
Now, that will bring us to the last point. But before I do, I am going to do this one more time. We are on the road to 4K. We are looking to give one of you lucky viewers a Manchester United Football Club jersey of your choice, be it home, away, or third kit, or maybe you're like Cullum and you have a predisposition to goalkeeper jerseys. But we cater for all needs. You get your name and your number on the back of that jersey. And all we have to do to give that away is reach 4,000 subscribers before the first game of the season. And guess what? It's 100% free to subscribe to the Man United agenda. You just have to hit that subscribe button. Very simple, very easy, and it helps us a pile. Now, you might be feeling a bit flush. And for the princely sum of 2 Freddos, or maybe 3 Freddos, depending on what the prices in the UK is, you can sign up to be a member of the Manchester United, the Man United Agenda Football Club YouTube channel. And when we reach the agreed number of memberships simultaneously, I might add, we will then be arranging for one of those members, not Mr. B, not Yabba, not Kevin, no one get a Brian Robson signed, authenticated jersey. So for a quid, you can't go wrong. But that brings us to the final topic of today. We've seen that there's a bit of division amongst the executives and the manager. It's believed, according to the media, that Ruben Amorim wants Watkins, but Vival, who was brought in to assist in transfers, to give advice on acquiring targets, who has worked with Benjamin Sesko at RB Leipzig, favours bringing him in. Now, the question that we have is, if the Manchester United board do not believe in Sesko, if the manager does not believe in Sesko, does this make Vival's position weakened? Because if he's coming in and he's been brought in to make those major decisions and provide the advice in acquiring those major positions, and the club goes completely in the opposite direction of what he's trying to pursue, is his position gone?
Why?
Because it suggests the club doesn't believe in him, that they don't think that he is cutting them off with the information he's given.
Yeah, but surely it's a democracy, Rebel. At the end of the day, he can't come in and expect every decision he makes the club to benefit. The young players he's brought in, you can't knock them. They all seem to be top draw. They all seem to be ones that were wanted. Yeah, you're right. This is a test of what he has in the club. The power maybe that he has in the club. But you've also got to look at it that what does Amorim want? You know, do they want the now striker in Watkins, who's guaranteed to give us 15 goals for the next 3 seasons, guaranteed? Or do we have the Sesko where we wait? And this is obviously where Vival comes in. You know, he could come in and hit the ground running, which would be fantastic. He's done his job again. You know, it gives him that extra clout in the club. But at the same time, it could be a financial thing. it could be a number crunching thing where they don't go for Sesko. If Watkins comes in at 45 mil and Sesko's 60 plus 10, who are you going to take? Really, who are you going to take? You're going to go for Watkins.
You're forgetting one important issue, though, Mr. B.
Say again.
You're forgetting one important issue. You say there might be differential in the transfer fee of 20 million, but you also have to count in what the differential in expected wages is going to be.
Who do you think would be on more money, Yabba?
I don't know how much Sesko's on it in RB. I can't imagine it's more than 150 grand. I don't think it's more than that. I can't imagine it would be more than that.
No, I can't see it being anything near
I
that.
don't think they pay that much sort of big wages. So his next move, if he does come to the Premiership, for example, he could ask for like 150 grand or something like that. But you're talking about the debate has sort of been narrowed down now, hasn't it, between Watkins maybe and Sesko, and there's pros and cons for both players. You could say, like Mr. Beach has mentioned, you could have Watkins come in, proven Premiership striker at a good age as well, where he's doing the business, doesn't really get injured, big, very strong, runs, defense is ragged as well, and does score his fair share of goals. Or you can go for a guy who's young, fits the Ineos criteria, being under 25, sell on value, and he's highly touted and quite rated. And it's what you want. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the decision of the bigwigs at the club. The manager and the sporting director have to come together and say, look, and technical director as well, and say, who's best suited for the club for us to be successful, and who's best suited for the club with the partnerships that we have up front, what's going to be the best fit for the club. And I don't know, to be honest. I can see pros and cons for both. I think Watkins would be, I've always liked Watkins. I think he could be good, but I don't know if we can get him. I don't think Villa will be willing to let him go. They got rid of Duran last season. They got good money for him. They just missed out in the Champions League. They would take a huge hit if they got rid of him now, because the fans would go crazy. He's a top player for them. He's well loved. And I don't think they would let him go. So I think the Sesko thing, there's a lot of talk about that. Not saying I want Sesko more, but I'm seeing more news. And when you sort of put your ear listen to the grapevine, what's going on and what you're hearing, it looks like Sesko could be a possibility. And that's something we weren't even considering a few weeks ago. So let's see how it goes. I trust them to make the right decision.
The just for information purposes, the differential in wages between what Sesko's currently earning and what Watkins is currently earning is 20.8 million for a calendar year.
What's Sesko on at the moment?
90 something thousand, whereas Watkins is on 130 something thousand.
There you go. Well, 90,000.
Okay, so if Watkins comes, we're going to be expecting that he gets a pay rise, right?
Correct.
So the cheaper player really than you're saying will be Sesko.
If you're looking at it from the perspective of if we have control of our wage budget, we should be able to get Sesko per week at a less per week wage than Watkins. I'd imagine Watkins would be looking for 2 to 250 to join us, whereas Sesko would probably be coming in at 150, 180. But I want to kind of throw out this last question to you. We obviously are talking about fantasy transfers, because at the moment, there's no suggestion as to any concrete advancement on any player. Realistically speaking, kind of taking emotion and everything out of the equation, what do you actually expect Manchester United to bring in between now and the start of the season or the closure of the window?
All three. Goalie, striker, midfielder. I expect them all to come in.
Yeah, that's quite. That's realistic. It can happen. Like you said, with the players going out and give us enough room for players to come in. There's a lot of work going on right now. The guys are earning their corn by getting the work done. Whether it happens now or whether it happens at the last minute of midnight on the 1st of September, or whatever, they have to do their job and get paid for what they get paid for, and bringing in players. And Mr. B said the 3 players that we need: a goalkeeper, midfielder, striker. Hopefully, we do get those players in, and then we can be more confident. But we're just speculating right now. We don't know the ins and outs of what's going on and what's going to happen. But let's just keep our fingers crossed that we do get some players in, because it will give us more opportunity to perform better next season.
I'm going to humbly disagree with. Like, I hope we do get those 3 players. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I want to see those 3 players because I want to enjoy the season coming ahead. And just as Hydra mentioned it, please do like, share, subscribe. It's all free to do, and it helps the channel so much, and we do appreciate it. I think the 17 million euro goalkeeper is probably going to happen. I think a free transfer striker will probably happen. It's going to be somebody that maybe we're not 100% happy with, the likes of a Milivojevic or one of the other free transfers. It's not going to be DCL or any of these other langers. Let's be fair about it. But I don't think it's going to be who we would hope to come in. I think Manchester United Football Club's commitment to transfers that have already been done have hindered us. I don't think there's any escaping that. And even though we do have the room to get our 3 preferred transfers, the 40 million euro keeper, the 40 to 50 million euro midfielder, the 60 to 80 million euro striker. The only way we do that is if our owners do something unprecedented. They financially commit to the advancement of the club. And that's where I think our dreams will come across the iceberg that the Titanic hit. And it's not that I'm wanting to be completely and utterly pessimistic. I'm just looking at the realities of the history that our owners have shown since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. He was immune to what happened at Manchester United Football Club because, let's face it, he was too big a name to fail. And he would not have let it go unchallenged. Manchester United Football Club is at a crossroads. But we have been here for 1 hour, 10 minutes. We are hoping.
You've been upset the whole bloody time, Rebel.
I just have to be realistic. I've seen.
Rebel.
Keep you saying realistic, but come on.
You can be realistic.
One positive thing about the club or our movements.
And
when we did say, about realistic, realism is we brought 2 players in, and he still went on to say that we're not. That's not good enough. We're still doom and gloom. We had minus thing last season. We stepped up. We're making progress. You must. All I want from you is just a tiny bit of acknowledgement to say, yes, that's the right move. That's what I want to see going forward. That's all I want to hear from you, Rebel. But you keep drawing it back to some long negativity thing that things aren't doom and gloom. And you're talking about things from the past. I want to take steps forward and look for the future and say, what can we improve? Because I can't be pessimistic about things. You can't get much worse. We've hit rock bottom.
The only reason you'll be able to remove doom and gloom is by actions on the field.
Exactly, Rebel. We haven't played yet.
But at the moment, you have to look at the business we're doing, the business that clubs that we should be competing with are doing, and you have to draw a comparison. But this has been the Man United agenda. We will be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And for now, I have been Rebel.
Boo, Rebel.
Where is it? Hold on. Yeah, Rebel. You've talked a lot today, but this is for you.
Yeah, boo, Rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel was the original negative.
I will just remind you, myself and Mr. B have made representations to you on previous January transfer windows where you've used optimism to the detriment of reality, and I need to send my views in the course of reality and navigate on that boat. But this has been the United Agenda, and a very good night to you.
Good night.